Stop everything because the streets are whispering, the blogs are exploding, and the fans can't believe what just came out. Lil Durk, the face of Chicago drill. The man who turned OTF into an empire isn't just fighting the feds anymore. He's fighting something even more dangerous. Betrayal from within his own family. Imagine building a movement called Only the Family, preaching loyalty above everything, and then waking up to see headlines that the same people you fed, the same people you put on, might be flipping on you. That's not just a scandal, that's a nightmare come to life. Word is, investigators are circling, insiders are leaking, and whispers of snitches and OTF are spreading like wildfire. And it's not just outsiders pointing fingers. Durk's own blood, his circle, even people who once swore they'd never turn, are now being accused of talking to the feds. Fans are shocked, emotions are high, the industry is panicking, because if OTF crumbles, it's not just Durk on trial, it's the entire brand, the culture, the loyalty that drill music was built on. This isn't just a legal case anymore, it's a betrayal story, and trust me, it's about to get ugly. The streets were already buzzing. But after the last court filing dropped, it felt like the walls of loyalty around Lil Durk were beginning to crack. For years, Only the Family had been sold as more than just a crew. It was supposed to be a code. Blood thicker than water, loyalty stronger than money. But now, that slogan was being dragged through the mud. Because whispers were growing louder, OTF wasn't standing together anymore. The first signs of betrayal came in the form of anonymous court leaks. Prosecutors claimed that unnamed associates were already cooperating, providing details about meetings, payments, and coded conversations. Nobody knew exactly who was talking, but the speculation was brutal. Every member of OTF who went quiet online was suddenly labeled a snitch. Every unfollow, every vague post, every deleted picture was dissected like evidence. Look, he hasn't posted in weeks, he's flipping. Nah, he deleted that picture with Durk. That means he's talking. It didn't matter whether it was true. In the court of public opinion, perception was reality. Behind the scenes, tensions in the crew boiled over. One insider, who refused to show their face, claimed arguments erupted in private over who would pay for lawyers, who was really standing by Durk, and who was distancing themselves to protect their own futures. You gotta understand, the insider whispered, these dudes all say family. Family, family, but when the feds are breathing down your neck and talking life sentences, family don't mean the same anymore. And then came the family twist nobody saw coming. A distant relative of Durk allegedly spoke to a local reporter, saying, "We don't recognize him anymore. The boy we grew up with is not the man being painted in these courtrooms." That one sentence spread like wildfire, ripped out of context, screen captured, and posted across every blog. Fans were stunned. Was his own blood turning against him? Was the pressure so high that even relatives were beginning to question the loyalty they once bragged about? The family was left divided, some defending him with every breath, others quietly stepping back. Afraid of the storm gathering around his name, the drama spilled over to social media, where fans fought tooth and nail. Supporters screamed that the betrayal angle was overblown. Just another ploy by prosecutors to make Durk look guilty. They did this to Young Thug, they'll do it to Durk. One viral tweet argued, racking up thousands of likes. But critics weren't buying it. They flooded timelines with memes, mocking OTF as only the feds. TikTok stitched his music videos with headlines, creating sinister montages that made every lyric sound like a confession. And the worst part, some of his so-called fans started to flip too, deleting their Durk edits, changing their profile pictures, and pretending they'd never supported him at all. Industry reactions only added to the chaos. Brands that once lined up to work with OTF artists went silent. Booking agents pulled shows. Other rappers who once shouted OTF in their songs suddenly acted like they'd never heard of them. A rumored collab with a major West Coast artist was scrapped overnight, with an insider claiming, "Nobody wants to get caught in that crossfire right now." Even DJs started quietly removing his songs from club rotations, worried that playing his tracks would cause drama. Meanwhile, Durk's silence was deafening. He didn't jump on IG Live. He didn't rant on Twitter. Just a cold, stiff statement from his legal team. "We are aware of the allegations. Mr. Banks remains committed to proving his innocence." But fans weren't satisfied. In a scandal fueled by leaks, silence looks like guilt. "If you ain't guilty, speak," critics taunted. Defenders shot back. "If he speaks, they'll twist his words." Either way, the silence became another weapon used against him. Inside OTF, things only got uglier. A source close to the camp described late-night shouting matches, people accusing each other of moving funny, of secretly cutting deals, of not putting money up for lawyers. One of them straight up told another, "You gonna fold first." "I know it," the source claimed. The paranoia was eating them alive. Every phone call was suspicious. Every DM could be a setup. And then the betrayal narrative reached its peak, with rumors that one of the younger OTF affiliates had already sat down with prosecutors. A name wasn't given publicly, but blogs ran wild with theories. Screenshots of alleged paperwork surfaced, some obviously fake, but in the frenzy, nobody cared. "It's over. One post read, "The circle is cracked." Within hours, hashtags like #OTF, Snitch were trending. Fans debated endlessly. Who would flip next? And most importantly, could Durk survive if even one person inside his circle testified against him? As if that wasn't enough, the financial pressure piled on. Without shows, without tours, without deals, the money dried up fast. Leaked documents suggested that OTF was losing hundreds of thousands every week. Rumors swirled that houses were being sold off quietly, that Durk himself had to move funds to cover mounting legal bills. The empire that had once seemed bulletproof was leaking from every angle. The drama wasn't just about money or freedom. It was personal. In one leaked voice note, allegedly between two OTF affiliates, one voice raged, "He ain't look out for us like he said he would. Now we supposed to crash out for him. Nah, I got kids." Whether it was real or fake, the damage was done. It painted the picture of a family turning, of loyalty fading, of people saving themselves before saving their leader. The betrayal theme consumed everything. Commentators on YouTube dissected it like a reality show. "This is what happens when you build your empire on the streets," one blogger said. Podcasts debated whether loyalty even exists in the industry anymore. And the fans were exhausted, heartbroken, angry, and confused. Some clung to loyalty, others walked away. The OTF dream of only the family had turned into a nightmare slogan. Only the fallout. And still, the storm was only getting started. Because the deeper investigators dug, the more names surfaced, the more theories exploded. And the more it looked like Durk wasn't just fighting the government. He was fighting ghosts inside his own camp. Betrayal had seeped in like poison, and every day that passed, the question grew louder. Who's really riding for him, and who's secretly handing the feds the keys to his downfall? The betrayal inside OTF was no longer just a rumor, it was becoming a storyline too explosive to ignore. Each day brought a new source, a new screenshot, a new whisper that someone in Durk's inner circle was ready to fold. And in the streets, in the blogs, even in the barbershops, the same question kept coming up. If OTF was built on loyalty, then why does it feel like everyone is scrambling to save themselves? One of the ugliest twists came when paperwork allegedly leaked, showing that a mid-level OTF affiliate had sat down with investigators. The document was blurry, parts blacked out, but the name OTF stood out clear as day. Almost immediately, blogs exploded with titles like "OTF snitching begins and the family is cracking." Fans were shocked, arguing over whether the paperwork was real or just another fake planted to stir chaos. But the damage was already done. The perception was that OTF had been infiltrated. In the midst of that storm, another betrayal hit closer to home. A family member, reportedly a cousin, gave an off-the-record interview where they claimed, "Everybody keeps talking about loyalty, but nobody's paying our bills while the heat is on. It's every man for himself now." That single line went viral, plastered on Instagram pages and Twitter threads. Emotions ran high. Some fans sympathized with the family's frustration, but others felt the sting of disloyalty. "Blood is supposed to ride with you, not talk to the press," one angry supporter commented. Behind the scenes, insiders described OTF meetings turning into battlegrounds. Arguments over legal fees, over who was really stepping up and who was distancing themselves, dominated every conversation. Dudes were pointing fingers, straight up yelling, "You're the one who folded." One anonymous insider said, "It wasn't family anymore. It was paranoia. Every handshake felt like a trap. Every smile felt like a mask hiding betrayal." And then, like gasoline on fire, came the social media fallout. One OTF affiliate suddenly unfollowed Durk. That one click sent shockwaves through the internet. Fans posted screenshots, captions screaming, "It's over." Others defended it as a glitch. But in an era where loyalty is measured in likes and follows, that small act was seen as a dagger in the back. While the betrayal rumors tore through OTF, the industry itself was panicking. Promoters were canceling shows. Brands quietly pulled contracts. A DJ leaked a message thread where club owners said, "We can't play Durk records right now. It's bad for business." Even other rappers started keeping their distance. Features were shelved. Collaborations were pulled. The silence from peers was deafening, and in the silence, fans heard betrayal. Durk's legal team, meanwhile, was left trying to contain the bleeding. They issued statements dismissing the leaks as fabricated evidence and claiming that loyalty remained strong. But every new headline made the statement ring hollow. Blogs mocked the phrase, turning "loyalty remains strong" into a meme, paired with images of rats and paperwork. Fans were left divided, and the war online reached boiling point. Supporters claimed that the feds were planting stories to divide OTF from the inside. "This is what they always do," one viral TikTok argued, comparing the case to RICO indictments in Atlanta. But critics clapped back with venom. Nobody needs to plant anything. Durk's own people are doing it for him. The back and forth grew nastier, with accusations, insults, and even threats flying back and forth across fan communities. The emotional toll on the family was impossible to hide. Rumors claimed that some relatives were no longer visiting Durk, fearing association with his case. Others were begging him to cut ties with certain crew members, afraid that their loyalty was going to drag the entire family down. One supposed leaked voicemail had a woman's voice pleading, "You gotta let them go before they bury you." Whether real or fake, it went viral. Piling more suspicion on names, fans were already side-eyeing. Even inside the studio, paranoia ran deep. Engineers whispered about unfinished songs that might never be released. Producers hinted that hard drives were being seized. And then came the ultimate betrayal rumor, that unreleased Durk lyrics had been handed to prosecutors by someone inside OTF. The idea that his art, the thing he built his empire on, was being used against him by his own people made the betrayal sting even worse. Fans were furious, blasting anyone they thought might be responsible. And while the betrayal narrative grew, the financial collapse couldn't be ignored. Shows canceled meant millions lost. Refunds drained tour money. Merch sales plummeted as fans distanced themselves. "We're watching an empire burn down in real time," one commentator said. Blogs compared it to watching a slow-motion car crash. Each headline another dent in the wreckage. But the ugliest twist was still unfolding. Rumors swirled that two OTF members, once considered untouchable, were in direct talks with prosecutors. No names, no faces, just whispers. But whispers were enough. Fans speculated not. Threads ran hundreds of comments long, each post accusing a different member of betrayal. And in the end, it didn't matter if it was true. What mattered was the perception that only the family was no longer only family. It was fractured, bleeding, and possibly feeding the very system they claimed to be against. The story had started with a federal indictment. But now it was something far bigger. This wasn't just about one man versus the law. This was about loyalty versus survival, family versus betrayal, and the terrifying question that nobody wanted to answer: how long before someone puts Durk's name in their mouth to save themselves? The chaos surrounding Durk had already reached insane levels. But the third wave of this scandal pushed it into nightmare territory. What began as whispers of betrayal and screenshots of alleged snitching had now snowballed into real consequences: legal filings, financial collapse, and an industry in sheer panic. What nobody could deny anymore was this: OTF wasn't untouchable. It was cracking, and the world was watching. The prosecutors, sensing blood in the water, doubled down. Reports came out that investigators were combing through OTF's financials, label contracts, wire transfers, even hotel receipts. Leaks suggested they were building a conspiracy narrative, trying to prove that Durk wasn't just an artist but the head of an organized network. The word RICO started popping up in headlines, a word that chills rappers to the bone. Fans went crazy with theories. This ain't just about one case anymore. They trying to take down the whole OTF brand. Inside the camp, paranoia reached a fever pitch. Every conversation felt like it was being recorded. Every meeting felt like a trap. One source claimed OTF affiliates started accusing each other openly. "You, the one who gave up those lyrics. You, the one who told them about that car." Another supposedly shouted, "If I go down, I'm not going alone." It was less like a family and more like a sinking ship where everyone was trying to grab the last lifeboat. Meanwhile, the betrayal story spilled further into the family. A close relative, reportedly Durk's aunt, was overheard telling someone, "We can't all ruin our lives for him. He chose this path." That one line, shared on blogs, sparked outrage. Fans debated endlessly. Was she protecting herself, or was she selling him out? The family was now a battlefield, some demanding loyalty, others quietly pulling away. For a crew built on only the family, the irony was brutal. And then came the smoking gun of perception. Prosecutors announced they had seized an unreleased track from a co-defendant's phone. The song allegedly had lyrics about riding through Beverly Hills with choppers and sending the bag for the job. Fans immediately debated, was it art or was it evidence? Critics laughed. He literally confessed in the music. Supporters argued it was just another attempt to criminalize rap. But the timing was devastating. The betrayal angle suddenly seemed even more plausible, because how did unreleased music, never meant for public ears, land in the hands of investigators? Someone had to have leaked it. Financially, the empire was collapsing fast. Brands bailed. Promoters blacklisted him. Even streaming platforms quietly stopped featuring his music. A leaked message from a festival organizer revealed they were scrambling to replace OTF's slot. The cancellation alone cost millions. Worse, insiders claimed Durk had been forced to sell off assets to cover ballooning legal bills. A mansion in Atlanta, gone. Cars once flaunted on Instagram, missing. He's bleeding money like crazy, one anonymous insider whispered. The panic wasn't just inside, OTF, it was in the entire industry. OTF, it was in the entire industry. Other artists saw the writing on the wall. Collaborations were yanked. Songs were shelved. One rapper who had previously shouted OTF in his tracks suddenly scrubbed all references from his pages. Nobody wants to be guilty by association, a producer explained. The fear was real. Being too close to OTF now meant risking career suicide. The isolation was suffocating, and yet, the betrayal narrative just kept snowballing. A supposed leak claimed prosecutors were pushing hard to flip one of Durk's right-hand men. If even one testified, the whole empire could crumble. The internet went into overdrive, pointing fingers, naming names, spinning theories. It's him. I can feel it. Nah, it's the other one. Look how quiet he's been. The guessing game turned ugly, with reputations shredded before a single fact was proven. But the darkest twist wasn't in the paperwork or the music. It was in the perception of fans. Slowly, painfully, even his supporters began to lose faith. The hashtag shifted. Where once it was hashtag free DURK, now it was protect the kids or accountability over loyalty. Some diehards stayed, but others walked away, posting tearful TikToks about deleting his songs from playlists. The betrayal was complete, not just inside OTF, not just inside the family, but inside the fanbase that had built his empire. And still, Durk said nothing. No lives, no emotional speeches, just silence, punctuated by cold legal statements. His absence became the loudest betrayal of all. If he wanted us to ride for him, he should have spoken. One fan tweeted bitterly. Others defended him, insisting he was being smart. But the silence only widened the gap between him and the people who once screamed his lyrics in sold-out arenas. By now, the narrative had shifted. This wasn't just a trial. This wasn't just a scandal. This was a full-blown implosion. A family divided, a crew accused of snitching, a fan base at war, an industry in retreat. What started as loyalty had turned into paranoia, betrayal, and collapse. And through it all, the feds sat back, watching the pieces fall, knowing that sometimes you don't even have to convict someone to destroy them. You just have to let betrayal do the work. The story of Lil Durk and OTF had always been about loyalty, survival, and family. But now, in the eyes of the world, it was about betrayal, snitches, and panic. And no matter how this case ends, one thing was already clear. OTF would never be the same again. And that's the story, at least for today. Lil Durk, OTF, and the kind of betrayal that feels less like hip-hop news and more like a full-blown reality show unraveling right before our eyes. We've seen headlines before, we've seen rappers fight cases, but this is different. This is family pointing fingers, insiders whispering about Snitch, and prosecutors building their case while the industry panics and steps away. The question now is simple, but terrifying. How much longer can Durk hold on? Can loyalty survive when every new headline screams betrayal? Can a crew built on only the family survive when the world is convinced that the family itself is turning? And more importantly, if OTF really is fractured, what does that mean for Durk's future? Is he the leader of an empire under attack, or the face of an empire eating itself alive? That's where you come in. Because at the end of the day, these stories don't just live in courtrooms, they live online. In the comments sections, in the debates between fans, in the culture that won't let go until every angle is dissected. Do you believe Durk is being set up? Just another rapper targeted by a system that never wanted to see him win? Or do you think this is the mask slipping, the truth finally catching up to him? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your take loud and unfiltered. Smash that like button if you want more of these raw breakdowns. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this saga is far from over. The next twist, the next leak, the next betrayal. It's coming. And when it does, we'll be right here, breaking it all down.